Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby, and here with me are Maria Sandoval and Cristina Waltz, hair department head and makeup department head for the Mandalorian Emmy nominees this year. Congratulations on your nominations. And I have to ask, tell us lay people about that experience. What goes through your mind when you see your name on that list of nominees?
Well, it's thrilling. I mean, you work so hard on something, and you don't think about it necessarily when you're working on it, like the possibilities of that. So when it comes back around and the nomination happens, it's very exciting. It's very thrilling.
Yeah, I think there's still that suspension of disbelief every single time. You see those names come through, and you're like, "Wait, are you sure? Are you sure? Is something wrong? Did somebody say that? That's me? Okay, all right." Very surreal.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, it's well deserved. I'd actually love to talk about the collaboration between both of your departments, because when a new character, for instance, is introduced on the series, there must be a sort of cohesion there to make sure your work complements each other. What is that like on set?
Well, you
Well,
actually, oh,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
for it.
No, you go for it.
Well, I
After
was
you.
gonna say, it's a lot of looking at the character, and then it's like you can go so many directions. So with Maria and I know it's like it's nice to discuss like what visions do you have. Maria has an amazing reference guide in her workshop, and so it's like kind of discussing where we want to go with these characters, and we also include Shauna in that discussion, the costume designer, and really like where do we go with these like concepts, and kind of seeing. I'm always inspired with the hairstyles Maria comes up with, because there's always some reasoning behind it, and it's fun because it kind of helps me to like have another direction to take the makeup into.
Yeah, often the design starts with inspiration from the concept art, which is usually comes from this guy Brian Matthias, but it's all directed by Doug Chang, and so the concept art already has some sort of a vibe that kind of tells you, what's already been seen and what's already been approved, and then we sort of take it from there in collaboration also with the actor.
Well, Maria, you're nominated specifically for the episode The Convert. And that episode takes us into Coruscant, which I feel like is a planet we don't often get to in this specific time period in Star Wars lore. So where did you look at for inspiration? Because they're so elaborate with their hair and style in this city.
Well, I obviously went back and watched the prequels, which I'm always happy to have an excuse to have to do that. I have been so wanting to go to Coruscant for the entire time that, as soon as I heard I was going to be on a Star Wars show, I was like, oh God, I hope at some point we get to go to Coruscant, because the 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 art direction and the costumes and the hair and makeup that was done in the prequels is just stellar, and I think completely underappreciated. There's there's influences from Aboriginal culture and art and 1920s art deco, and there's just so much to pull from, but it's also sort of no holds barred, like you could kind of do almost anything. And so just the idea that we would get to go back to this place, and but yet revisit it, however many years later, I don't know what the exact timeline is, but um to kind of bring it forward a little bit but still pay homage to those original designs was really exciting and important to me. I really wish we could have seen a lot more of it. Unfortunately, in the episode, you're relegated to little bits, and things are always as very moody. So sometimes there's things that kind of went by the wayside, but I think the general overall feeling and look is there, and it's absolutely recognizable as being back on Coruscant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was really excited to spy a little cameo from Vianne Cox, who I've been obsessed with since Brandy's Cinderella. And she has these sort of they're almost kind of like reminiscent of Leia's buns, you know.
Mhm.
They're a little bit further back, they're not like over the ear, but it definitely calls that to mind. What is the decision making process like of where am I going to include an homage to something?
I almost always do a little homage to something in, I don't want to say in every episode, but in every season for sure. And every season there will be some space. There will be some Leia buns somewhere. There always is. There always is a version of the Leia buns. The other little Easter egg is uh why is her name escaping me? The other aristocrat, Swedish woman. There's Vianne, and what was the other one? I don't know. Her name is escaping me right now. I feel horrible for that. But her hairstyle actually has in the front there's a cuff, and it's a bracelet that I purchased actually at Galaxy's Edge. So I always try to throw in little, little Easter eggs here and there wherever I can, wherever it's appropriate. I mean, I don't want to do anything that's blatantly obvious, but whenever I get a chance to do it, I like to do it. And sometimes it's noticed and sometimes it's not.
Yeah. And at this point, there is such a history of Star Wars, you know, going through the films, the animated series, comic books, and novels. Do you feel like you have to be, for both of you, kind of a historian of all of that coming into this work? Well, there's a lot of legacy there.
Yeah, we have a lot of reference books, that's for sure. And I mean, personally, I have a lot of reference just because I've been a fan for so long. I think Christina's she's getting there. She's learning really quickly.
Well, yeah, I've always been a Star Wars fan, but I wouldn't say I knew all of the depth of the lore, but I definitely I look at some of the characters and the creatures that have been created, and it's like what I like to try to do is tie in some sort of world like way that they've always been portrayed, but maybe over time things upgrade, and especially creature makeup and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of ways we can make things better, but still kind of keep it in that authentic kind of Star Wars memory, so that people that knew the old Star Wars, the merge can still happen. But yeah, for me, a lot of reference is fantastic, but I really work pretty close with Doug Chain when it starts getting into the creature stuff. Like he's like a great resource guide.
Yeah. Well, your Christina, your episode that you're nominated for, Guns for Hire, is really exciting because you get to introduce a new planet, a new world to this lore, and it's it's ruled by Jack Black and Lizzo are the sort of aristocrats, and it's kind of like a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of Renaissance fair. It's almost like you go back in time, but it's very futuristic. What was it like introducing that element and with a very bright color palette that we don't often see in Star Wars?
I was very excited about it. I actually spent some time. I went to the costume designer studio at when she was starting to come up with her concepts. And I loved just looking at all the fabrics she was choosing and what was going on there. I love texture. That's why I like with Maria's hairstyles, all the texture she's got going on. Like I for some reason am very inspired by that sort of element. So I went to Shauna's costume warehouse, and I met all the actors for their fittings. And it was fun to just see where their direction was going and kind of how fantastical some of it was. And then on top of it, the actors, Jack Black, Lizzo, and Christopher Lloyd, they all were very they had a voice and an idea, and they wanted to play with some ideas. So it was a lot of fun to kind of collaborate those looks. But I was really excited because I do like that like colorful kind of sci-fi. It had a bit of a retro kind of almost like 60s sci-fi thing going on. And I like that a lot. So I personally felt it was a fun episode to just jump into. Plus, I love the concept of this droid world, this everyone living. So it was fun to play with all of those elements and go for it.
Yeah, I think every design discipline really pops in that episode because it stands out as something different. Oftentimes in Star Wars, we're dealing with, especially in The Mandalorian, it's characters who maybe don't wear makeup in their day-to-day. They might be dirty and they might not, how do you approach a character who is like that, who is not necessarily makeup forward?
Well, it's funny because a lot of times you don't really even see how much makeup is going on someone. Like there's a lot of transformative characters that's more like, we'll see the actor's face and then we'll make little enhancements like in the eyebrows or the skin tone, just slightly, just subtle little shading and elements that on camera you don't read as makeup at all, but it's kind of creating a different shape or something that feels along the lines of a Star Wars character. But yeah, even just approaching, it's really seeing the camera, seeing the person on camera, and there's always like, oh, maybe we need a little more shading in that eye or something, a little more of this, or just let's exaggerate that brow just a bit more. And it's funny how much that character will pop, but on camera you might think, oh, this person has no makeup on.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
I
a
think
lot of camera tests really, and we're fortunate to be able to do that.
definitely. I think this series is also really fun because it pulls from, as I said before, so much Star Wars legacy, and there's characters such as Bo-Katan that are bringing someone from the animated world into live action. What is that process like for the both of you? How closely do you have to say, I need to stick to an animated being, even though human proportions might be different?
That was a real learning curve for me. Bo-Katan was the first person that we did that with. And at first, I think I took it a little too far. Like as soon as she came out, I had done her hair like really, really straight and really choppy and everything like this. And she looked like a cosplay of Bo-Katan. And it took us a while to kind of find the subtleties and to make her a little more human, and just working with the filmmakers and having them, sort of, explain the nuances of making this person, it doesn't have to be 100% literal. It has to be, the real iteration of this person that we've seen, in this 2D format, and then bringing them to life, and also making them, seem plausible.
Right. And there's lots of, you mentioned cosplayers, fans take this very seriously.
Yeah.
What has your interaction with that been like? Do you see a lot of the cosplay that takes your looks into the fandom?
I was fortunate this year to go to Celebration in Europe, and I actually myself, along with our prop master Josh Roth and Shauna Tripsick, got to judge the cosplay contest. So we got to interact with a lot of people. Shauna's really great about that, about interacting with people. I'm a little more reserved, and I don't like go up to every single Fennec Shan and go, oh my god, I designed your hairstyle, but it's really exciting. I've engaged with some people a little bit in some groups on Facebook, some of the costuming groups, and given a little some tips and suggestions and stuff. Trying to keep things professional but to also be engaging and approachable. It's just fun. It's flattering and it's exciting. And the first time I saw something I had done on a Funko Pop, it was like, whoa, like it makes you, I don't know, that to me is just so, it's such an honor to have like something that I designed be a toy in the Star Wars universe. That's something that I played with when I was 7 years old, and now I get to have it and know that I was a part of creating the look of it. but seeing, seeing what fans do, and seeing what they talk about, and some of them take it to crazy extremes, and they're so literal about everything, but it's all love. It's all just the love for the characters, the love for the lore, and for the universe, and that just makes me so privileged to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm always inspired. I always like seeing what cosplayers will enhance, like in the makeup. Like it's always fun. Like I really enjoy trying to create the going from the animation to the live action. I really think that's a fun process to think about, because you kind of you pull certain things. You're like, well, if I exaggerate this a little bit, that'll kind of make this human have some of that feel, but you don't want to go so, like Maria said, so over the top that it feels too cosplay. But what I do enjoy about seeing the cosplayers is what they do exaggerate. Sometimes there is like an extra exaggeration in something that actually that really works for their portrayal of that character. And I enjoy seeing that process.
Well, both of you have, many sci-fi stories under your belt, on your resumes. And so I'm wondering, with something like The Mandalorian, what is it about this genre and this type of work that keeps you engaged and keeps you excited?
Well, I first of all love sci-fi in general. That's always been a genre that I've loved to watch. I love going to outer space, the concept of space, the concept of traveling at speeds to get to other planets. Like I just like as an artist and creative person, like the idea of that just alone is so exciting to me. So being able to work on a show that shows that and has these different characters from all over these different planets and concepts, it's for me, it's like a really thrilling things to be part of, and then Star Wars has just really made a huge impression on me from a young child to now, to be able to be part of the world is for me a big thrill. Like I love it. I love working for the company, and I love just really being part of the whole team.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's a pinch me moment every single day. It's very simple, and it's very easy to be on set and be like, oh, it's another 12-hour day in a soundstage, with the same things that go on every single day. And then somebody will walk by dressed as, or 12 stormtroopers will walk by and they'll be like, oh my God, here I am 7 years old again, playing with my toys. And I'm actually an integral part of what's happening here. And I love sci-fi. I just love fantasy storytelling in general. I'm not a technical sci-fi person. I'm more of a fantasy sci-fi person. And so I think that's what I love about Star Wars. It's more like, the Saturday afternoon matinees with the samurais and the cowboys, and it doesn't take itself incredibly seriously at all times. And at the heart of it, the message is really simple. It doesn't take it's not about quantum physics or anything like that you have to really overanalyze. It's just very simple storytelling, and it's fun, and it makes people smile, and it gives people hope. And I think that's what George's plan was from the beginning, and to be a part of it is just something that I will cherish forever.
Well, it's incredible work in season 3 here, so congratulations on both of your nominations. And for everyone who's out there watching, make sure you subscribe to Gold Derby. Stay with us this season. And Cristina, Maria, thank you again so much.
Thank you.